I think that performing in a play, the thing I like about it is that it's more a Zen. It feels like more like a Zen act to me. You know your form is X, and every day you come in and just take the brush and go like, whew, and then you kind of go like, ooh, I kind of got that part right, but not that part right, you know. And then the next day you come in and you just go, whew, and you try to do it again, and then it evaporates. You know, it's gone.
I did a Katie Mitchell production. She's the most extraordinary director when it comes to process, and it was extraordinary. The first preview we did, the first scene, Hattie Morahan and myself, and we were sort of utterly perplexed by the fact that this fourth wall didn't exist, that there were people looking at what we were doing and our work and finding it funny. We thought we got something terribly wrong. And we came off and we were sort of talking to Katie, what was it? I mean, I really thought my flies were, what was it? Were they just nervous? And she went, no, I don't want you to think about why they thought it was funny. I said, oh, is it funny? I don't want you to think about why they thought it was funny, you know. So, because that's such a thing, you know, chase a laugh or a moment of, you know, sort of a dramatic high or whatever the shape of that thing that worked is.
I once, on that play, I was chasing a laugh. I had had a laugh from a little bit, and it had grown every night, and I kept increasing. You know, I kept leaning into the bit harder, and just to almost to see, like, how big can this, you know, laugh get? And I can't think of a time I've forgotten a line on stage in my life. Like, it just doesn't happen to me, really. And we were in previews on this thing, and I leaned into this bit too much, and I got this huge laugh.
And it threw you.
And I kind of stood up, and it's kind of these coke-fueled like monologues, and I let the laugh and the satisfaction just threw me off that much, and I started in, and Catherine Keener was gave me this look like, what? And I realized I had jumped about 15 minutes forward. I had jumped about 15 minutes of the play. And as I began to realize that I had done that, but you're still steaming forward, I'm seeing the other actor off stage whose entrance I have now jumped, looking at me like, what? And finally he had the presence to just enter, which broke it, sent it back to at least his entrance. Then we get through a lot of what we've missed, but now here we are coming back to what I've already done.
Oh my God.
And but the sensations were so later.
Shame.
No, but really, later I felt like it was one of the most interesting things that ever happened to me on a stage because you know, like you can feel like that cell in your finger, you know, like it's like the beginning of Saving Private Ryan. You can hear voices, but your head is spinning.
But your blood feels a little bit like lead in those moments. That's the, kind of,
I thought it was great. I thought it was like I mean I did it to myself, but. But it produced a very interesting experience. The funny thing is I only watched Sherlock recently, which I really enjoyed. I just watched it straight through in a big binge, you know.
Thanks very much.
And I really liked it. It's funny because I saw the film of August Osage County, and I just didn't really, I hadn't seen you in anything or something, and I was totally shocked that you were from England. I really was. Like,
really?
I thought that pairing, that couple was really tender. That was my favorite part of the film. But I mean, I think that my sense is like a show. It's a very different sort of thing because even if it takes off, you're kind of in it. It's not like it does it and then it's like, what next? What was that, like 2 or 3 years?
Yeah, about that. Yeah. I mean, it's a strange one. I think it sort of changed everything and nothing at the same time. It's one of those because we'd worked very hard to try and get it what it was and what it is, hopefully, and where it will go. But it was also something that we knew would have a certain amount of attention on it because he's such an iconic character. But it was really bizarre. But then it sort of crept up into my actual life very slowly. I mean, I'm thrilled that what I've done is successful and that it's going well and people love it. But at the same time, it's the last thing I want to do is to sort of suffocate the space I had before to be able to do that. Otherwise, the perverse thing is the fame then kind of drowns the air you need to create the thing that made you famous in the first place. You need your space. You need to be able to work at a certain pace or just be an artist, really, rather than being just famous. And that I'm still adjusting to. I'm still finding my way around that.
It's just such a different era now. The currency and the collateral and the mechanisms through which people talk about work that people do or are so they're so aggressive and so fast moving that it's almost like changed the playbook. I think it's like you know,
cannibalistic almost, isn't it?
Yeah,
as well?
it forces even more discipline about, you know, managing your health, your personal space,
Yeah.
than I think even when I started off kind of in the business. I think it's very different now. Point is, I think it's even different now than it was 15, 20 years ago. And I felt like I learned a lot even watching, it's a crazy thing to say, but like, if you watch those old like interviews with Bob Dylan when he's 20 years old, or, you know, if there's people like, have you ever seen the Maysles Brothers documentary called Meet Marlon Brando?
No.
You know, they made all those famous documentaries like Grey Gardens and things like that.
Yeah,
And
I've
their
seen
very
that.
first one is this documentary called Meet Marlon Brando. It's only 29 minutes long, and they followed Brando on a junket
Yeah.
for a movie that he didn't really like. And it's this incredible portrait of a guy really, really trying to maintain a grounded authenticity through this completely insane process. And I remember watching it just thinking like, you know, there's a lot of, you can learn a lot. You can learn a lot seeing what other people have gone through.
Absolutely, you can. And I've started to look to that a little bit. You know, it's really helpful to see how past masters have done it, and just understand that you can remain sane in the insanity of it all.
It's one of the supreme ironies, I think, of all these things, films and plays and all of it, is a certain glamour gets attached to the event of these things, but the truth is of the doing of it is it's not that glamorous. It's a very, I find it to be a very pleasingly working class kind of, working class isn't the right word, but it's a work, you know, it's a big,
it's a working day.
Yeah, it's not all of it, it's hundreds of people involved, and it's a very tight community of people, and it's often very humbling. It's the work itself never really.
That normalizes the crazy.
I think there's nothing better than just working. So I kind of think that's the best antidote.
Yeah, you know, I'm just determined to have some fun with that side of things and not take it too seriously. And within work, yeah, it's wonderful to flex your muscles and show that you've got a comedic side, or you know, you can examine things that are very close to you in a very honest way, even though you're still getting dressed up and, you know, going to, you know, that wasn't Edward Norton, that was your character. But it touched on loads of things, which I think, you know, the sort of acting community industry is just, I think it's one of the reasons the film is just extraordinary, is it's so rawly honest about every single perversity of what we do, and brilliantly performed.
I admire very, very much, let's call it like the, you know, in the furthest end of the spectrum, you have sort of the Bob Dylans, the J.D. Salingers, guys like Daniel Day-Lewis, who I admire enormously, not just as an actor, but
how he lives his life.
In terms of his commitment to firewalling. There's a distinct value, I think, to the depth of the impact the work of an actor can have if you don't see them very often. Yeah. And you don't know much about them otherwise.
I'm kind of screwed on that front there. I'm kind of, you know, I was born into, I mean, with the way it happened with me, into a pretty hot spotlight, and you're talking about extraordinary degrees of extraction from the work and from the process.
I know.
And I mean, I'd love to be in the position that Daniel Day-Lewis is and come in and work for 4 years for one project and then not be seen.
Right.
And
but that's what I'm saying is, I think
one of the reasons I got a publicist is to make them stop, make them stop the focus, make them stop all of this.
It's what I would call, you know, wise detachment, but also healthy engagement. You know, it's like one part of the brain says, don't be too precious about this. You're not a doctor in Liberia helping Ebola patients. You're an actor. You're an entertainer. You know, and if you can show up to help a good cause, like, do it. And if you can have a little fun laughing at yourself, do it. You know.
And the other half is,
the other half is like,
aren't I
wait a
supposed to be
minute,
an
wait a minute.
artist? Isn't there supposed to be some kind of preserve and mystique about what we do?
Exactly.
And the continual kind of examination of it on every kind of media is sort of saturating any...
And corrosive to doing a work that's really impactful, you know?
I agree.
And two, by the way, the fact that it's just, again, and it is sort of what Birdman's about, but the brain says, I need to work, I want to work. Actors, the lack of autonomy that actors have in their early careers sets up a paradigm where you say, well, if I'm getting a job, I should take the job, you know?
Yeah. And there's a great strength from realizing that it doesn't all stop if you say no.
I know.
That's
and
really
those balances are tricky. Those are tricky. They're just, I find
You seem to do it very well, I have to say.
It's a constant ongoing debate in my own head about the value of discipline versus the value of
Having fun.
yeah, and not taking it all too seriously and having fun with it. And
But
all of
I
it.
agree with you. I think it's a much healthier thing to do that within work, you know.